Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Lori Smith on Blog Talk Radio. It's Wednesday night, February 17th, 9:30 p.m. Calgary, Alberta time. This is Child Abuse Prevention and Human Rights Abuse Prevention is up to us, and I'm just really happy to be here, and I'm happy that you're here too. And it's going to be a half-hour show tonight, and we'll be talking about. We're actually covering a Survivor to Thriver workbook. This is off of www.ascasupport.org. Adult Survivors of Child Abuse. It's a great website. I advise everybody to take a look at it. We covered this on Monday night, and we'll just keep working through it. It's a huge workbook. It's like 115 pages. I don't know if we'll do them all, but I wanted to sort of go through some of it because I'm going to, on my own time, work through this workbook. And so that's why I'm kind of just sharing it with you guys, because it is quite good, but it is a lot of intensive kind of, bringing back memories and stuff like that. So we're going to cover safety first, and that's what we were working on Monday night, safety first. And so it's just so important. And yeah, I'm just glad you can be here. This is not a professional show. I'm not a professional counselor or therapist. I don't have any certificates in those areas. And so I really ask people to listen at your own discretion. I'm just a survivor who's walking out my own issues. And also, I study human rights, child rights at MRU here in Calgary, and I'm just a part-time student. And it's my goal to be as involved in child abuse prevention and human rights abuse prevention as possible, and I have to work full time. But in the meantime, I'm trying to go to school and get some education, and also work out my own healing issues. So I thought, why not just be one more voice out there, speaking out and saying, look, we need to do something about this horrible epidemic of child abuse and human rights abuses. I'm mostly interested in child abuse because I grew up abused in an abusive home, and a lot of people, turn a blind eye, and some people just didn't know, and so it just happens to so many people. I know there's so many people out there walking this healing journey with me, and so that's why I'm doing the show, just to be one more voice, and just to say you're not alone, and that we do have rights. We have to stand up for those rights, and we really have to stand up for children because they have no way to stand up for themselves. So it's up to us to make the change. We have to make the changes, and to stop child abuse and to stop really all human rights abuses and domestic violence and domestic abuse and everything, right? So yeah, that's why I'm doing the show, and I'm just happy to be able to do it. And so it's not a professional show. It's just me, and I'm just share resources. It's all about education, awareness, and prevention of child abuse and all abuse, really. And so, you want to listen at your own discretion. If you're under the age of 18, please get someone to listen with you, because this way, if it's a topic that you've never heard of before, it could be, abuse is a really hard topic to most people to listen to or to even think about. And if you didn't, if you're not used to hearing about abuse, and it could be kind of scary, especially for young people. And so that's why I really suggest that you get someone who has a really good head on their shoulders, who you trust, like if you have a parent who cares about what you're listening to, or a sibling, or maybe a counselor or a teacher, or someone that who you can say, look, I've been listening to this radio show, and I just want to know if it's okay. And they can kind of help guide you and just make a good decision for you, right? Because it's so important. And if you're a survivor of child abuse and you're listening to this show, a lot of the topics that I cover can really cause triggering and sort of some flashbacks and things like that. So I really ask people who are survivors of child abuse to be in a safe place when you're listening to this. Make the decision that you need to make. If it's really going to bother you, please don't listen to it, because I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable and to kind of, fall back in their healing process. I'd rather you just not listen. And so you want to make sure that it's okay for you to listen to topics of abuse before you listen to my show. It's so important, and it's really the only reason is because I really care. And I'm okay talking about it because, looking back on it, I was way more uncomfortable being abused than I am talking about it right now. This was a lot when I was a young person, and so I didn't used to be able to talk about it, but as an adult woman, I found the strength and the just the, what it took to be able to say, no, I'm speaking up, I'm speaking out, and abuse needs to stop. And the only way we're going to be able to stop it is really education and bringing awareness to the communities and to people's lives that there are so many people suffering in abusive homes and so many children who are being abused and their lives are being taken away from them. And in order to stop this, we're going to have to get involved. And so I'm just one more person to add my voice to those out there who are already doing this, and it just makes me happy to stand with them. So we're going to get right on this here. Survivor to Thriver workbook, and we covered Monday night safety first, and they really, this is the ASCA support.org. They really want to make sure everybody's a safe place before they do this Survivor to Thriver workbook. So they include this Safety First chapter in the very beginning of this Survivor to Thriver workbook. And it's very intensive. They really want to make sure that a person is ready, first of all, to start the healing work that needs to be done. They suggest that it be done in a group support or with someone you trust, perhaps a counselor or a therapist that you just know is working on your behalf and is there for you. They could probably help you go through the book and to do the work in it, because it does bring up a lot of painful memories, and you have to and it can bring up a lot of whether physical and also physical pain as well as emotional pain. So that's why it's so important to be sure that you're okay and that you're ready to listen to something like this, because it really can cause a lot of sadness and a lot of emotional trauma that you don't want that to happen, right? So even in this chapter, the introduction, they said safety first, because you should be safe in your recovery at all times. It should be the very first thing that you would think about is your own safety. And so that's the thing. They said if you don't feel safe, then you won't progress in the recovery. So they said they want a strong foundation upon which to build our new selves. So safety has to be the core of that foundation, right? So they said don't move too fast through the book, and don't move too fast or too quick through the healing process. That was their thing. Just a slow, steady pace, and really preferably with a therapist or a counselor, someone who can help us get through this stuff, right? And I've walked out a lot of my healing issues. I know, for a long time I was in a lot of pain, and it's, it's hard. I know, because I've been there, and should have reached out. I should have gotten some help, and I kept thinking to myself all the time, I should get some help. I even had some people tell me that I should get some help with it, because they couldn't really help me, and they wanted to see me happy, and they wanted to see me pain-free and not having to deal with this stuff, and they cared about me, but I just wasn't ready, and I just couldn't make that decision, and it's unfortunate. I wish that I did, and I still might, at some point. I'm seriously thinking about reaching out and getting some help and counseling and therapy, just for my own good, and I would highly suggest it for everybody. Because, if you can find a good counselor or therapist, someone who's really understands you and your situation, then, that's great, right? Excuse me. So we're going to read from the page here. We had just started that safety first. And they said timing's everything, right? Try not to get ahead of ourselves. And, many survivors feel impatient with the pace of the recovery. So, if we've spent years being stuck in a certain feeling, we might want to hurry up and jump ahead and go for the big success, right? And they said, really, that's not a good idea. It's better to go slow and steady and just keep it at a very safe level for ourselves, and know when it's uncomfortable that we need to sort of step back and maybe just go at a slower pace until we're ready to move on. And I think that's so important. And that's why at any time of this show, if I'm reading stuff from this workbook and it makes you uncomfortable, please just turn off the show and talk to your counselor, talk to a therapist or a support group person. I belong to a lot of support groups and stuff, so I could go on there and I could say, yeah, something just kind of brought back some memories today. I do that anyway. I haven't done it lately because I've been so busy, and actually it's been keeping my mind quite occupied. But sometimes when I'm just sitting around, I'll have these feelings will come back, and I'll be able to talk to people about it. It really helps. It really does make a big difference to have people in your life who care and who are there to to support you, right? And who know what you've been through. I think that's the biggest thing. It's people that know where you've been, even if their experiences are a little different than mine. It doesn't matter, because they know the pain involved. because it doesn't matter. Child abuse hurts. It doesn't matter what kind of child abuse it is. It all hurts. And it all hurts as far as I'm concerned. It's the same hurt because it's the emotional and the psychological and the, just the whole, your whole being is just kind of in pain. So, I know it's very, very hard. And so it's good to have some support. And I never did reach out. And once I started reaching out, I thought, man, I can't believe that I didn't do this earlier. And I was, not mad at myself, but I just thought, boy, I wish I would have reached out earlier because I wouldn't have had so many lonely and sad times, just sitting around in misery, right? So that's why I highly suggest finding some people that you trust and who are trustworthy and prove themselves to be trustworthy. And because you don't need any more abuse. And I just say, I live an abuse-free life because I don't allow anyone to abuse me now. I'm an adult and I make the choice, and it's my choice. So I hope that you would do that too. If you're suffering in a domestic violence situation, or your life's being threatened, you want to make sure you get yourself safe. That's the biggest thing, right? So they said here, we left off where they said, it's important that we set the structure and the pace of our recovery. They said, many survivors anxious to proceed with and finish their recovery often find themselves exploring recovery techniques that threaten them or make them feel re-victimized and violated. And it says often these survivors have had some sense that they were not yet ready to explore their abuse issues at that particular level, but they failed to trust their intuition, causing them to move slowly. Although it is difficult to resist a path that promises to lead to healing and recovery, we strongly encourage you to trust your own inner sense about your readiness. If you are not sure yourself whether you are ready to explore your abuse issues using particular techniques or at a different pace, see if you can get some help from a trusted friend or therapist. Ultimately, though, you must be the judge of whether you are ready for a certain recovery experience. Like, we have to be the judge of that because we know what's right for ourselves, right? And if we don't, then we need to find someone who can help us get to that decision, right? It's just so important because we all deserve to have a good life and to be walking free and feeling good, right? And I mean, everybody has down days. I mean, we know that. It's just life. But I'm talking days where it's manageable and you feel like, hey, this is manageable. I haven't, felt this good for so long, right? That's where we want to get. And, days that just, they seem, that you just cope well and everything is just going well, right? We all deserve that. And so that's why it's so important to reach out and just find someone who you trust and you can, and they trust you and you can work together, right? And really work on the healing journey. I just think it's so important. And it says, if you have a therapist, she or he may suggest certain techniques to help you in your recovery. If you have established a consistent level of trust with your therapist, you should be able to tell him or her that you do not feel ready to try a particular technique or that you feel the therapy is moving too fast or too slowly. An ethical therapist will never force you to do anything about which you are unsure and will respect your sense of appropriate timing. So this is so important. I've heard this from other websites as well. Like if we have a therapist who is not working for us and who seems to be causing us to feel worse, and is actually making us feel more abused all the time, then you want to change and get another therapist because it just might be just their way. And so, someone else might come along and they just click. And so you want to find one who's working for you and who's genuinely understands your situation. I've read that before in quite a few articles. It's so important. I know when I go out searching for my therapist, I'm going to be very particular. And you want to do that because this is what it's all about, is getting better, right? And so that's just so awesome. Assessing your current safety level. I'm just going to read right from the page here. Before you move on to the next section of this chapter, creating you, plan for safety first. We suggest that you take some time with the following 2 self-assessment scales, the safety checklist and the suicide harmful behavior checklist. And these will help you determine your current level of safety. After each checklist and the scoring information, there are some recommendations which are designed to help you determine whether you are ready to progress with the recovery program. So I guess after we do these checklists, we can check out their recommendations on whether or not we're really ready to go on to the actual recovery part of the program. So this is so important. You know, they have a safety checklist here, and they say like check yes or no. Like you can read this too when you go on the website. Check yes or no to answer each question. You know, they have question 1, 2, 3, and they said question 1 is, do you have impulses to harm yourself? Yes or no, right? Question 2, do you find yourself in unsafe situations? Yes or no? And number 3, do you easily feel overwhelmed by feelings, thoughts, memories, or bodily sensations? Yes or no? And so these are the questions they ask for the safety checklist, right? It would give us an idea. Oh yeah, there's quite a few questions here. It would give us an idea of whether or not we're really ready to move on or not by depending on how we answer these questions, right? And we all want to be as honest as possible because that's the whole idea. If we're ever going to get better, we have to be honest. And you know, there's just no other way about it. Do you currently feel threatened by someone close to you? Yes or no? That's question number 4. Number 5, have you ever attempted suicide? Yes or no? And 6, have you ever lost time or lost sense of being yourself? Yes or no? 7, do you use alcohol or drugs to excess? Yes or no? Number 8, is there a firearm or other potentially dangerous weapon at your residence? Yes or no? Number 9, have you been victimized by someone within the last 3 years? Yes or no? And number 10, is someone close to you involved in illegal activities? Yes or no? And scoring, if you checked yes to more than 3 questions, your current risk level is high. And so the risk level would be high if we actually answered yes to more than 3 of those questions. So that's pretty interesting. They have it worked out that we can find out just how, if we're actually at a very high stress or situation where we're actually not safe. And so that's the thing. It's very important to make sure we're safe, right? You can't stress it enough. Recommendations. Let this checklist tell you what you must do to lower your risk level and create more safety in your life. Some of the situations, such as that posed in question 8 concerning firearms or dangerous weapons, can be resolved easily. Remove the firearm or weapon from your residence. With other situations, such as past victimization, which is question 9, there is little you can do except to make every effort to prevent a reoccurrence. Which was the question 9 was, have you been victimized by someone within the last 3 years? And they said, so really with such as victimization, number 9, there is little you can do except to make every effort to prevent a reoccurrence. In most of the other questions, the issues are somewhat complicated but not unsolvable. You can and should seek professional help if you lose sense of time or of yourself or have impulses to harm yourself. If you are being threatened or abused by someone close to you, you need to take steps to protect yourself and to make the threats or abuse stop. And even if this means ending the relationship, if you are unsure as to how to address any of these questions, then you may need help to figure out how to create safety first, right? So that's the thing. We have to be so aware of our situation and taking a really honest and good look at our lives when we're answering these questions, and then really go on with their recommendations and stuff. It's so important, and that's the reason that they would put this Survivor to Thriver book out there for everybody. It's because they want people to be well, and they want people to heal and be able to move on in their lives, and but safety has to come first, and so that's just so important. And I have a caller on the line. I'll go ahead and take that now. Hello.
Hello?
Hi there.
Hi, my name is John Mahafty. I'm 13. I'm from Oregon.
How are you tonight?
Good.
Good.
My mom forces me to have sex with her, and I don't know what to do now because she disconnected the phone, my home phone, so I can't call the police on her. I just don't know what to do.
Well, I think, I would definitely get some help. And,
what she's been doing lately is she's been shoving rakes up my ass. I kind of like it.
Well, sorry about that, everybody. I won't be taking calls anymore unless I know you're going to be, on the air. And just because this is a serious show, and it's a serious problem, and we just don't have time for jokes. So anyway, we'll get right on with it here. It's a suicide harmful behavior checklist, and so if we check yes or no to these answers, and these answers, they will give us recommendations and whatnot. And there's 7 questions, and then we can go on from there. And this kind of gives us an idea of whether or not we're really in a safe place to go on with the workbook. And if at this point, if you're not in a safe place and you feel that you're it's just not a comfortable situation, then you can just decide at that point that you just wouldn't want to work through the workbook, right? And maybe talk to a counselor, talk to a therapist, and get some help with it, right? Question 1, it says, do you feel chronically depressed? And yes or no. Question 2, do you have recurring thoughts of killing? Right? These are, things that could pop into someone's mind. Oh, killing yourself. These would be things that would pop into maybe someone's mind at some point, right? And we have to be really honest with ourselves, and we have to really think about the questions, I think, not rush through them, and just really spend some time thinking about them, right? Do you have a specific plan to kill yourself? This was another question. Number 4, have you acquired the means to kill yourself? So this is all about suicide and suicidal tendencies or suicidal thoughts, right? And that's a huge issue with safety and adult survivor issues. And if you could answer yes to these questions, it just means that you've experienced some serious difficulties, and it would be excuse me, it'd be my suggestion that you get some help. And my brother committed suicide, and I know all about it. And it's so sad. It's unfortunate, and it happens to people all the time. There's so many people who do commit suicide and who do have suicidal tendencies, and a lot of it's just due to depression, drug use. They just can't seem to see any other way. And I just say, remember, suicide is never the answer. And www.suicide.org. That is Kevin Caruso's organization, not-for-profit. This guy is awesome. He just loves everybody. He's like, I will never stop fighting for you. And so suicide is never the answer. So we just need to remember that. And, if you're having any kind of, suicidal tendencies or thoughts, you want to make sure you reach out and get some help, because life is good. And it can be extremely good if we take the steps to make it happen for ourselves, right? And that's just the whole issue. There's good help out there, and I know for a fact, because I have run into quite a few groups that are so proactive and so good at just reaching out and making sure that you do have someone to talk to, and it's so important. So if you are thinking that you just can't handle it and it's just too much and everything has just been too much in your life, you could make sure you just get onto those websites, or you can call a crisis line in the front of your phone book. There's always all these crisis lines and suicide prevention lines and stuff in the front of your phone books. And you want to make sure you reach out and get some help, because these people care, and that's why they're sitting on the other end of these phone lines. And they wouldn't be doing it for any other reason except for the fact that they do care. And so that's why it's so important to keep reaching out and just keep looking for that help and that hope, right? It says, have you acquired the means to kill yourself, like such as a supply of pills or a gun or something, or whatever you might purchase to kill yourself? Do you intend to carry out this plan to kill yourself? These are questions they're asking here within a specified time frame. So have you thought it out and planned it out? Do you have thoughts of actually killing or harming others? And number 7, if yes, have you made specific plans or arrangements for this to occur? So it says, if you answered yes to any of the above questions, any of them, right, even to one of them, your suicide harmful behavior risk level is high. So their recommendations: get professional help immediately. If you do not have access to names or private therapists, you should call your county mental health services. ASCA co-secretaries may have a list of selected resources for their meetings, particular area. So the ASCA meetings that go on in the different cities around North America, you could contact them if you were really unsure of who to get a hold of, and they would probably have some resources for you, right? And you can ask for some names and telephone numbers. You need to first lower your suicide harmful behavior risk before attempting to initiate or continue recovery from your child abuse. So the two are probably connected. but it is very important that you concentrate first on stabilizing yourself before delving deeper into your abuse issues. So it says discuss your answers to these questions with your therapist so that he or she can make your personal safety and the safety of others the primary focus in your therapy until you have stabilized yourself and feel you are ready to commence or continue recovery efforts. And you should know that your therapist has certain legal and ethical obligations to warn potential victims and in some cases to notify the police if he or she is responsibly believes that you are suicidal or homicidal. So they have to, they're bound by law to make the phone call if they believe, without, reasonably believe that you are suicidal or homicidal. And it's for your own good, right, and for everybody else, or likely to harm another person. Although this may mean breaking the confidential relationship between the two of you, your therapist is mandated by law to do this and cannot be sanctioned for doing so. So this is discussed in greater detail in Chapter 5 in connection with Step 14. So it's just really important, to know that, if you do disclose that, which you should, because everyone should get some help. And it's so sad. There's so many suicides every year, and who knows how many attempted suicides, but we know that suicide is a real problem. And I don't have the statistics here in front of me, but I know, that it is a problem. And it's so sad because if these people would just reach out and just find some good support, then that could be completely avoided. And then they could, get some help, get some healing, and go on to do and to live the life that they want to have, to reach out and reach for those goals and enjoy their lives, right, that they were supposed to have. And this is why it's just so important. That's why I'm doing this show. And so just to be an encouraging word and just say, everyone deserves the right to have a good life, and everyone deserves the right to, to live, first of all. And so, you don't want to take your own life. Suicide is never the answer. And so Friday night we're going to look at the next part of the article, which is awareness, assessment, and action. And it's still safety first. So it says your safety first plan starts with these parts: awareness and assessment and action. So we're going to still go through the rest of the safety plan, and it's quite extensive. There's another, I don't know how many pages here, 24, 25, 26 pages of safety first. So we'll be on this for a while. But it's so important, and that's the whole issue, right? It's so important. We can't even stress it enough. We have to be safe first of all. So, and then we can move on to our recovery, right? Because without being safe, we just won't be able to get on with our recovery, right? So this is the whole issue, and I really like this Survivor to Thriver workbook, and I'm going to work through it on my own time and do, my own personal Survivor to Thriver, and it's going to be quite good. But I know I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't feel safe on my own. I would be asking for some help with it. So that's why I'm just saying it's so important. And I am the Canada Regional Director for Dream Catchers for Abused Children. And I am so happy to stand with these guys. And I'm telling you, this organization, not 501c3 child abuse organization, not-for-profit, is so proactive on awareness and prevention of child abuse. And, our mission is to educate the public on child abuse, signs and symptoms, statistics, intervention, reporting, prevention, to assist victims and survivors in locating the proper resources to help achieve and enable a full recovery. And you can find this website at http://www.dreamcatchersforabusedchildren.com. Sandra Potter, the CEO and founder, and Donna Shear, the president and author, they both co-author books. They are so awesome. Two moms on a mission, and they want to perish a child's nightmare. And so I'm so happy to stand with them, and I'm just so glad to see the work that they're doing and that everyone's doing that's involved, and the support from the people that are supporting Dream Catchers for Abused Children is just awesome. It's amazing, and it just makes me happy. And so, I highly recommend that website. You can go on there and click on the tabs, and you can find all kinds of information. What is child abuse? How can I get involved? How can I, what can I do in my area? There's some great stuff there. Child Abuse Monument. This is www.irvingstudios.com. Michael C. Irving, PhD and sculptor. He's a psychotherapist and a sculptor. He created the Child Abuse Monument in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and a whole bunch of survivors got together and got to do handprints and poetry and all kinds of awesome things to help them with their healing, to just be part of something so huge and that will stand forever. And it's a great website. I highly recommend it. There's all kinds of links for resources on there. There's coping strategies. There's coping lists, everything. There's all kinds of stuff about child abuse, what's happening in the area in Toronto, and that's just such a great website. I highly recommend it. And the Survivor Manual, this is www.survivormanual.com. It's run by the Angela Shelton Foundation, and that's another great website. Well, everyone, you guys, I'm so happy. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will be back on tomorrow morning, 5:30, one child abuse survivor to another, and my heart is with you all. Take care. Keep reaching out for that hope. Keep that hope alive. You keep yourself alive, and keep that hope alive. And if you suspect a child is being abused, do the only right thing that there is to do. Make the phone call. Get some help. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night. Bye-bye.